I'm Teague.
And I'm Sam.
And we are your well-informed girlfriends.
Bringing you today's news, gossip, and unsolicited hot takes. This week, we're talking about the Epstein files, a new AI lawsuit, and the latest trial against social media companies.
Yes, we are also talking about how weight loss drugs are changing the airline industry. That's one I didn't see coming. A horrible IVF mix-up. Also not good. And why Elon Musk is saying we no longer need to save for retirement.
That's who I'm taking retirement advice from. Plus, we also have two new dating terms, Banksying and roaching. So that'll be an adventure.
Okay, great. Oh, and we're also talking about one opinion piece that came out this week talking about how Harry Potter generation needs to, quote unquote, grow up.
Never. How dare they?
Okay, all that and so much more on this week's episode of Well-Informed Girlfriends.
Yeah. So we first wanted to start by talking about the latest Epstein file drop.
Yes.
So many files were released this week, and it's kind of impossible for us to tell you about them in one quick segment here on the pod. So please look into that if you're interested. But I did want to take a minute to explain why you're not seeing some of the wildest accusations repeated.
Okay, like why they're not on media outlets?
Yeah, so like if you're reading an article in the New York Times or whatever, you might not necessarily see some of the most insane accusations that are in those files.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because it's not a cover-up. It's just how journalism works. So big outlets actually won't publish claims unless they're independently verified and vetted and clearly sourced. And so many of the names and the accusations in the Epstein document dump actually come from hearsay, untested testimony, or references that weren't meant to be considered findings of fact necessarily. And so newsrooms have this higher bar because once they print somebody's name or, release exactly what these documents are saying, they're responsible for the harm if it's done. They could be sued for things like libel.
Right.
And so social media and people you might follow on the internet don't necessarily have that same bar, but higher credible newsrooms do.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I do feel like I was kind of shocked to see not more media coverage on all of this, but it totally makes sense what you're saying. I mean, the complaints, I don't know if you guys have seen the written complaints, but I thought that all of those had to be vetted. It turns out if you write in a complaint, like that could just be a random complaint. And I honestly, truly, after looking at some of them, they are so incredibly horrific, offensive, and disgusting that I hope some of them were made up, because if they're true at all, I've lost all hope in humanity. I mean, did you read some of the complaints?
Yeah.
Especially regarding young girls and like what they were doing. And I really hope that some of that was not true, but obviously that's how an investigation goes. You have to look into every single claim, every single complaint, and that's what we kind of saw in this most recent Epstein file dump. So I guess hopefully we will get some more clarity as we move forward on like what that actually means and what is verified and what those sources are. How does it work when someone writes in a formal complaint, then they have to kind of follow up? Do you know how that works?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess it depends who you're complaining to. So if somebody writes in a complaint to the New York Times, they would likely investigate that and probably go to law enforcement. If somebody files a complaint with law enforcement, like I wouldn't, but you could just call law enforcement right now and be like, hi, I have a crazy Trump story. And they would write it down, and it could end up in these kind of file dumps.
Right.
And so they are obligated to investigate that and follow up and see what is and is not verifiable and what can and cannot be proven and that sort of thing.
Got it. Okay. So that's kind of like what the complaints were. But there were so many other things that came down. So yeah, definitely look at those if you find it interesting, and hopefully we find some more clarity as we move along.
Right. Exactly.
Ugh, weird. But good context.
Yes.
Okay, what's this next story?
Okay. So this is an interesting story out of the New York Times that I wanted to talk about this week.
Okay.
Basically, a recently filed lawsuit claims the ratings assigned by AI screening software when you're applying to a job online should be considered like that of a credit agency. So you should know what your score is when you file your job application. Because I'm sure you've experienced this. I think anyone applying to jobs now, you're just sending your application off into the depths of the internet, never to be heard from again.
Right.
But this lawsuit's goal is to compel those AI companies to disclose more information about what data they're gathering on applicants and how and why they're being ranked the way they are.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So like, if you apply to a job as like a Today Show editor, for example, and then you don't even get a call and you're like, that's weird. I was a Today Show editor. Why would that happen? This hasn't happened to me. This isn't a real example. But, why wouldn't I get a call for that? Then in theory, this lawsuit, if it wins, would have to tell you more about why.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I think this is great because, first of all, I feel like when job applications started switching to AI formats, it totally changed what hiring, what,
Yeah.
interviewing even looks like. I have some friends who have done interviews with an AI agent as the first round. Like,
I've heard about that. That's
are you
crazy.
kidding? It's like, what? Like, how am I supposed to show razzle dazzle when I'm performing for an AI robot?
I know. Also, it's kind of like my vibes are a big part of my hiring process. Like, I have a
Right.
good vibe and people hire me for that. Is that a personality hire? You be the judge. But regardless, I don't know if the AI bot can pick up on my vibes.
No, I mean, first of all, they can't. And second of all, it's like, I do think there should be some more clarity around this because it's also like there are so many people applying for jobs they're not qualified for, which is like mucking up the system. There
Yeah.
are AI agents applying for jobs
Yeah.
and sometimes getting jobs over people that are like people. It's just like such a weird wild west of jobs. I feel like LinkedIn now and Indeed, these places are just like no longer what they used to be. It's
Yeah.
much muddier water. So I think this is great if we can find some actual, what's going on, some honesty in the hiring process would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely want to know more for sure. So
Please
stay tuned. I'll keep you guys updated on that lawsuit.
because I want to show razzle dazzle.
I only
Please.
have razzle dazzle.
Let me give you a jazz hand. Please. Okay, this next story I thought was very interesting. So we know weight loss drugs have changed so much about the way we're living and restaurants and the way we're in relationships. Everything has changed really when it comes to weight loss drugs. We know so many people are on weight loss drugs in this country. But one thing I didn't think about is airlines are actually changing the way that they do things because so many Americans are slimming down. So there's this new analysis that is suggesting that more Americans are using GLP-1 weight loss medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, these new oral versions, and the average weight of airline passengers is decreasing.
Oh, wow.
So experts say that lighter passengers means less weight on planes overall, which could translate into lower fuel consumption. And that is actually one of airlines' biggest costs.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So a major financial study estimates that this trend could save U.S. airlines up to about $580 million a year
Wow.
in fuel costs across the larger carriers. Some analysts even speculate that these savings could lead to lower airline prices over time, though others caution that that connection isn't guaranteed. But it's really interesting. I thought I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. But I will say there is a flip side to this. At the same time, airlines are making policies that affect larger travelers. Notably, Southwest Airlines updated its customer of size policy. That's what they're calling it. So under these new rules, plus-size passengers who take up more than one seat are now expected to purchase that extra seat in advance, which I think is really interesting. And advocacy groups actually are arguing that the shift is less inclusive and could make flying more difficult for passengers with larger bodies.
Got it. So before they didn't have to buy the extra seat?
Exactly. That was never like a part of, the flying experience for them. So yeah, there are definitely some changes, but I thought it was really interesting that fuel costs could go down all because everybody's skinny mini.
I mean, like, listen, I guess that's good for airlines. I feel like we've seen a great, it's sort of like a consolidation happening in the airline industry. So I hope that helps helps carriers stay more independent, but TBD.
Yeah.
The passengers of size thing, that's really interesting. I didn't know they weren't already required to buy the second seat.
Not for major airlines. I'm not sure. Maybe there are some people that require that.
Yeah,
And I think some people do just do that preemptively if they want a more comfortable flying experience.
Yeah.
I have heard of people doing that. So yeah, who knows? But things are changing in the sky. Okay, this next story I thought was so interesting. I really, really wanted to talk about it. So Elon Musk recently said that there's quote unquote no reason to save for retirement. So Elon Musk says that saving for retirement could soon be irrelevant thanks to rapid advances in AI and robotics. He describes this change as a supersonic tsunami of AI that will eliminate scarcity. Quote, he talked this week on Moonshots with Peter Diamandis, and basically he was saying that people should not worry about saving for retirement because in the next few decades, it will not matter. Okay. He predicts that by 2030, AI will be smarter than all humans combined. So Musk claims that there will eventually be more humanoid robots than humans on the world. I mean, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Another one. It's like, where's my razzle dazzle going?
Yeah.
Please. I will say this is actually crazy.
This
but
is like way more dystopian than I thought it was going to be when we started this story. It
Yeah.
just keeps getting increasingly dystopian.
Exactly. So when he said that there's going to be more humanoid robots than humans, he said that they will be replacing these traditional jobs, starting with first, of course, white collar work. So according to him, AI can already do half of the jobs that we have in this country that don't require this physical atom level work.
Okay.
So, obviously if you're like building an atom like that, AI can't figure that out
Sure,
yet,
sure.
but give it a few months. These productivity gains could increase abundance beyond anything we've known. So in the future, Musk is arguing that there will be universal basic income, something we've heard about, and basically a universal, you can have whatever you want income, which is like, what? We've never done that. Like, what does that actually look like in practice? I'm not sure. And he previously said that work will become optional within 10 to 20 years and money itself will no longer matter. But then I argue, like, what are we going to be what are we doing for purpose and happiness? Like, of course, like I'd love to go hike for a few days, but then I'm going to come back to my house and trade nuts with squirrels? Like, what am I doing? What does that future look like? I don't know.
Well, and I have to be honest, I don't understand the leap between having a bunch of robots that private companies have created
Yeah.
and not having currency or any sort of
No, 100%.
resources that you're fighting over.
Yeah, because if a company is building, say just for instance, a company is building a bunch of toys and they have robots that are building these toys.
Mm-hmm.
I, as a consumer, maybe want to buy that toy, but how did I make money to buy the toy? And
Right.
so riddle me this. You're making the toy and the toy's just free for me because we're not doing money anymore? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know how that works.
That's how that works. And so
Right.
I guess I have to be honest, I don't think that listen, I'm sure Elon Musk is a smart-ish guy, but like I don't
Yeah.
think that's really happening. Especially by 2030, AI will be smarter than all humans combined. AI can't even like read my emails and tell me what I need to do. I don't know. Respectfully, I just don't feel like that's happening. But
yeah, I mean, look, if anybody knows what's going on in the AI race, it is probably Elon. He probably knows more about it than we do. But I will say, like, it would be really hard to get everybody on board. Also, like, everybody on board in other countries as well. It's not like America's pretty advanced and they can, like, adapt and change and do those things. But like, you think about third world countries, those people are not going to be able to reap the benefits of having AI either. So then it's like, what is that wage gap discrepancy? Like, what does that look like?
oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
just absolutely like totally different.
Right.
So.
Then they say that's already happening, by the way.
Oh.
The global divide, like between the global north and global south, is already so stark.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine how that will impact them.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, this next story I wanted to talk about because I think it is so crazy. It's happening more and more. I don't know if you've heard of it. There is yet another mix-up. An IVF mix-up in the United States, and it's starting to make people worry about the future of IVF and the risks that it involves. So this latest case comes out of Florida. This is not the first time this has happened, by the way, but the most recent case this week is a couple is suing a fertility clinic, alleging that medical error led to the birth of a child not genetically related to either of the parents.
That's like so chaotic.
Yeah, after an IVF embryo transfer. So the couple who used their sperm and eggs to create embryos welcomed a baby girl in December 2025. Yet genetic tests showed that she isn't biologically theirs. Not the mom's, not the dad's, totally somebody else's child. And this is a baby that this woman had in her womb for 9 months. So like, think about how crazy that must feel. It's like, wait, I just carried this baby that's not mine genetically at all. Interesting. So their lawsuit claims that the clinic implanted the wrong embryo, raising fears that their own biological child was given to another family. And now I don't know if you listened to, there was an episode recently, the Daily New York Times podcast, one of my favorites. But they also had this same situation where parents had children, they were both not theirs, and they randomly like lived in the same area because they used the same clinic, and then they swapped the kids really young, like 6 months. But crazy. I mean, what are the chances? And whatever. Anyways, insane. So there's obviously a lot of emotional complexity to this. So the parents say that, of course, they love the child that they carried and delivered, but feel a moral obligation to find the child's genetic parents and also locate their own biological child from the clinic's storage.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like your own kid could be walking around somewhere and it's like, oh my gosh, I want to go be the parent of my own kid too. Like, what?
Yeah.
And so this is not the first time this has happened, as I said, but in Georgia, a woman gave birth to a baby that wasn't genetically hers due to a mix-up again at a fertility clinic and was later forced to give up custody to the biological parents.
What?
Yeah. So it's like you think about those bonds you make with a child in the womb, and then you're like,
Yeah.
you just have to give up this baby that feels like yours. In your brain, it's yours.
Oh, yeah. Well, and think about all of the work you did, the literal and physical labor of laboring. Like, you had
Yeah.
to grow this baby,
Yeah.
and then you gave birth to it, pop that bad boy out, and then,
Yeah.
like, you have to give it up. It's like, oh my God, that's like a whole year of work you'll never get back.
Well, and it's an emotional drain. I
Oh my
mean, think
God, so
about like how
traumatizing.
traumatizing, like you form this bond and this like relationship with this baby who then you feel like isn't yours. It all feels like a sham. So yeah, these IVF clinics, I mean, this is one of the huge risks of using IVF. And I think now with more people than ever freezing their eggs and storing their eggs, I think like the likelihood of this happening does increase. I was asking my doctor friend last night, I was like, hey, can you genetically test an egg or an embryo before it's like inserted? And he's like, I don't think so. So I don't know if that's like something they can do yet.
Mm.
So it is kind of like one of those risks. It's like, I mean, it's not rolling the dice, but it's like you're really hoping that the IVF clinic is, above board and does everything organized. It's like, how in the heck does that happen? How can you possibly mess that up? It's like, that's like the most important thing to get right, obviously, at a clinic like that. It's like, label it. What? What, did the egg just fall over into the other dish? Like, no, like it doesn't make any sense. Anyways, that's crazy. So that's happening.
Wait, so does the Florida couple get to keep the baby, or what are they doing?
Right now they're trying to locate where if they have a child that was born, and then they're also suing the clinic, of course, and then they're gonna probably, I don't know what the next steps will be, but
Yeah.
what happens, and this has happened a few times in these cases, is they will return the genetically biological kid to the genetic parents.
Mm,
So
that's
anyways,
crazy.
we'll see what happens. Crazy. Okay, what's this next story? Oh,
Okay.
I love this one.
Okay, I thought you would enjoy this next
Yeah.
story. Just how addictive is social media? We may be about to find out, at least in court. This week, a bellwether trial kicked off in Los Angeles over a legal fight about whether platforms like Meta and YouTube actually cause personal injury by creating super addictive products. The case centers around a 20-year-old who says she spent years glued to social apps as a kid and later dealt with anxiety, depression, and body image issues. It's part of a much larger wave of litigation, actually, and more than 1,000 individual plaintiffs, hundreds of school districts, and dozens of state attorneys general across the country have filed similar suits. And their core argument is that social media platforms are actually engineered to keep users hooked.
Hmm.
The trials could shape what social media looks like in the future, from how your feeds work to how platforms even handle younger people.
Hmm.
And legal experts say that these stories from teens about their mental health could carry more weight than abstract arguments about the benefit of humanity not being addicted to social media. So we'll see what happens. It's kind of like how big tobacco originally was like sued about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People were like, oh, well, maybe smoking is bad for you. But then people got on the stand and were like, I can't breathe through my throat and that sort of thing. It's kind of the same energy as that.
Well, this is interesting. It's kind of the first lawsuit of its kind because people have before and previously, as we know, they've sued Meta, they've sued these different social media platforms because they've claimed that it's enabled bullying, that it's enabled people to, influence self-harm or whatever that is. We've seen that happen over the years. This one is particularly different because now the question isn't, does it allow bullying? Because when that was the question, Meta and all these social media platforms were able to use the defense of everybody has the right to say whatever they want. So then it was kind of like a null. It's like your choice was to use this, and
Yeah.
if you're affected by what's said online, we can't control what other people say online. Our hands are tied. So sorry, that was the argument before, and that's why they've been getting around it for a long time. That's been the loophole that they've used. Now this is really interesting because it's finally putting the blame on the design, which is so intentional. And obviously, if you even talk to one engineer at one of these social media platforms, of course it was developed to be so addictive. I mean, I've talked about this a million times, but you talk about the colors are all a dopamine trigger. Specifically using red, that in your brain for years and years and years has been, we've trained our brain to know that red is alarm and like alert, check a red notification. So that's why all of our notifications are red. Also, like the scrolling is designed just like a slot machine. We know that was put specifically in there, this endless, these
Infinite scroll,
infinite
continuous scroll.
scroll, this
Yeah.
continuous scroll, this variable rewards is something that they put into the devices really early because you're just like, oh, I don't know what's coming up, so I better keep checking. The time limit, that's another thing that triggers our brain to go check everything out because we know it's only going to be there for another day. So it's like, I have to see what everyone's doing. Everything about it was created to be incredibly addictive. And that was, all for the advertisers to get more time with us and time and exposure to our attention. So yeah, I think this is great and I am really excited about it and I hope that it will lead to some changes. I do feel like people are shifting away from social media use a little bit.
Yeah.
And I have to say that's really nice and refreshing and I hope that we can continue to see that trend happen.
Oh, totally agree. Can I share a hot take?
Sure.
An unsolicited hot take, so to speak. So do you remember the moment you decided social media might actually be a little bit bad?
I probably right away.
Oh, really? Okay. So I feel like I didn't figure it out until the pandemic, maybe.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, you know what? I think I need to spend less time online. Like, this
Yeah.
can't be good for me. I feel like Gen Z must get there like pretty soon. Like they're surely approaching that sort of same limit where they're like, I'm over it.
I think Gen Z has known that for a long time because they're all pretty like in tune with their mental health.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I feel like we're reaching
that
tipping point. Like our generations have both kind of been like, all right, that's enough. Like I think we're all a little bit there. So I'm excited to see what comes forward. And I think that it'll be good. It'll be good.
No, I definitely agree. Okay. What's this next story?
Okay. So there is a new work trend called shift sulking. And if you've ever showed up exhausted, disengaged, and counting down the minutes, it might actually be you.
Okay.
According to the Every Girl, shift sulking describes a pattern where employees start work already drained and checked out.
Okay.
Not because they had a bad morning necessarily, but because their job itself is stressful and unstable. It's been coined by a workplace platform deputy. Their CEO said this, and it reflects how ongoing burnout can quietly erode morale, mental health, and even long-term career growth, especially for frontline and hourly workers.
Yeah. Okay, so what is this? This is like basically saying that like, I don't know, a nurse goes in and she's already drained and exhausted. And she's
it's like
not
you
looking
start
forward.
from zero.
Okay.
And you're like, oh my God. Or like even people like I've experienced this like working an overnight shift in news. You get there and everyone's like, oh, why? And it's just like you're just pulling teeth to be there and everyone's morale is really low and you're just completely exhausted all the time.
Yeah.
And I guess this is more common than we realize. I think a lot of people who are working in these kind of frontline industries are especially really burned out for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, think about doing like, I don't know, construction work or something that's like so physically taxing every single day. I'm sure it would be really hard to motivate yourself and get out of bed and like go, especially if it's cold in the morning or whatever it is.
Yes.
Like I can't imagine.
No.
So I totally understand this. Also, like, I will say like, industries didn't really adapt that much or as much as they could have and should have after the pandemic when we kind of all were like, hey, we're working too much, huh? And then we went back to work in an office, 5 days a week. And I think people maybe should have made some more adjustments to make people more excited to be there. But I don't think all those adjustments really translated.
Sometimes I feel like we're like, hey, are we working too much? Also, like, we don't have any benefits. They're like, cool, chop, chop, back to the office.
Yeah, it's like, wait a second.
Oh, did you like the snacks we had? Too bad, they're gone now.
Yeah.
Like, they actually made it worse somehow. And you're like, oh, okay, sick.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, they're like, oh, but the bottom line. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Back to creating shareholder value, chop, chop.
Yeah,
literally. Oh, God, kill me. It's fine.
Okay, so this next story, what is this?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So apparently, film students can't sit through movies anymore.
Okay.
This is according to Atlantic. Professors across the country say even students majoring in film are skipping movies, watching it on double speed, or scrolling their phones straight through iconic scenes.
No.
Yeah. Here's looking at you, Elsa, and you're just like,
That's insane.
Some schools actually tracked it too. Fewer than half even started the assigned films.
No.
And only about 1 in 5 finished them. These are film students. Yeah. Professors blamed in the story, they blamed the infinite scroll, which we were just talking about, short form video, and growing up multitasking on screens.
Okay.
And a few are fighting back by teaching what they're calling slow cinema to retrain attention, and others are giving in and just assigning short films as viewing homework.
Here's the thing, and call me crazy, but if you're going to film school and you can't watch a film, then I feel like maybe there's a misalignment. Maybe if you can make the argument that you are yourself going to, I don't know, make short short form videos and like make something new and interesting for your audience and for like the people that you want to make things for. But I gotta say, that is so upsetting. I mean, if you're a film student, that should be the coolest part about going to school, is like seeing these films that open your eyes and show you like what a movie can look like if you put in the time, effort, energy, and like really make a great script. Like that's what film school is about. So like the fact that they can't sit through this is not entirely their fault. Of course, we're all
Of course
addicted to
not,
the
yeah.
dopamine rush of looking at our phones, but also like, my gosh, hopefully they can like start to adjust that. But you think about it, that probably is happening even for other people too. That's probably happening for a bunch of students. Like I'm sure even kids in medical school are like having a harder time focusing, just because of what our environment is now and what we're
Yeah.
used to, and like having our phones up near us all the time. So
For sure. And they say that when you are a student, you're learning, as you learn new things, the neuroplasticity of your brain expands and grows to match those challenges.
okay.
But when you're addicted to your phone, and I see this even in my own life, I used to read literature all the time. And now I still read, of course, but it's like harder, honestly,
Yeah.
to focus.
Of course.
And I think that the same thing could be said for college students today. They've never even had that sort of analog lifestyle that we used to lead.
Mhm.
And so I think it would be really hard to be a film student, honestly, to focus on the films, especially things
Yeah.
that are like not built for a different era. Think about
Yeah.
how hard it was to read like English literature in college or whatever. It's sort of the same thing now, but they're so used to these 30-second clips that are like hilarious and colorful and blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, all right, we're going to watch this this long film in black and white, very
Yeah.
slow.
Yeah. I guess it is just different. So very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, this next story, what's this? I don't know.
Okay. So this is an opinion article from the New York Times this week
Okay.
that my husband sent to me
Okay.
because what's the word? It kind of like roasted us a little. I'm not going to lie. So millennials didn't just read Harry Potter. We built, evidently, our entire moral worldview around it.
Okay.
And according to this New York Times op-ed, that might actually be a problem.
Okay.
So the writer, Louise Perry, argued that Harry Potter locked millennials into a very 1990s liberal fantasy, one where good triumphs over evil, institutions largely work, and ordinary people win if they're tolerant enough and work hard enough.
Yeah.
Zoomers, like post-millennials, were shaped by economic decline, political chaos, and distrust in the systems, and they just don't buy that anymore.
Okay.
And so the result is that Harry Potter feels like dated, almost naive, and weirdly frozen in time. And her take is blunt. It's that the Harry Potter generation, i.e. us, needs to grow up because the world we believed in never really existed.
Okay, now this goes back to something we talked about maybe a few weeks ago on the podcast, that people are inherently good. That is something I have to stand by, because if I don't, I will lose my mind. Like, I have to believe that good triumphs evil. I have to believe that institutions basically work. I have to believe that ordinary people win if they are just like good. And so I unfortunately will not be changing. I will be staying optimistic, because if I even look at the pessimistic side, I'm out. Like I'm doom and gloom. So I think that this is a hilarious op-ed, but also like, I can't change, Louise.
I know. Honestly, the nihilism does not appeal to me. I simply
No.
cannot go on. How
What's
could
the
you
point?
go on? I just can't do it.
No.
So I will continue to believe that good will triumph over evil at the end of the day.
You gotta.
Because what else is there?
What else is there? I can't. No, I feel like it's funny, but also like, please let me have rose-colored glasses on for at least 5 more minutes.
Is it rose-colored glasses, or is it like inherently belief in humanity?
It's belief in humanity.
Because I think if you believe everyone is like bad and out to get you, then why would you even want to continue the human race? Like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't get it.
No, absolutely. No, I mean, there are people like that do kind of like think like the worst in all situations. And it's like, that just to me feels exhausting. And like, and not even, actually, you could even look at it in a selfish way and be like, I personally can't expose myself to that type of thinking. Because I know myself, like I'll go down a rabbit hole and you won't see me, So
I totally respect and agree with that. I think I'm willing to see that side of the coin. I do think that there are people who are bad. We talked about this on the pod a few weeks ago. Like, I don't think everyone is inherently good. I think there are people who are bad people. Yeah. But I also think that I have to believe at the end of the day, good will goodwill triumph. Because otherwise, what do you have?
What do you
Just
have?
can't go on. So
No, literally.
Speaking of good and bad.
Good and bad. We have a new dating term. LOL. Here we go. First, you had ghosting. Now you have Banksying. And it's even more brutal. So the Every Girl published a story this week talking about this new dating phenomenon called Banksying. So basically, Banksying is a dating trend where a partner suddenly blindsides the other by disappearing, having secretly planned their exit for weeks or months beforehand. So it's named after the elusive artist Banksy. This behavior is considered a often more painful form of ghosting or emotionally quiet quitting, where one person emotionally detaches and just totally vanishes. Yeah.
That is unhinged. If you are
Yeah.
Banksying, you are a bad person.
Now, come on. It's like, I can even handle a ghost here and there, but a Banksy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Please.
So you're plotting your exit.
You're
You've
like-
got a whole mural planned of your exit, essentially.
Well, I feel like in breakups, sometimes you do see this happening. Like someone will pick a fight or someone will like make a silly comment that they know is going to trigger you. Just like trying to like kind of like ease your way into like, we're breaking up. Like I have seen that in practice, but like Banksying feels a little bit more offensive.
It feels kind of sinister.
It does.
It's one thing to How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days it, but to
Yeah.
Banksy it, that's aggressive.
Okay, and we have one final story for you. Another dating term. Can you believe?
I am excited to hear.
We
Please
just
tell.
love a dating term. We should honestly call the podcast, this is mostly dating terms. Okay, so our final dating term, our final story of the day is this new dating phenomenon called roaching. Hear me out. Roaching is a new dating term that refers to a situation where an individual, often in a casual or undefined relationship, withholds information about their involvement with multiple other partners. So basically, they're just a roach, and they're just going from your house to the neighbor's house to the girl next door.
Ugh, I hate that.
Yeah, there's roaches now. I do feel like if you are in the early stages of dating, I always like to have that conversation like pretty early. Like, hey, are you seeing anybody else? Like, I would love to just know,
Mhm, yeah.
And is it a turn off when they're dating other people? Yeah, but like at least I have some sort of purview on that.
Right. I feel like if you've only gone on like 1 or 2 dates, I'm not expecting to be exclusive. But
Right.
once it's like 3 or 4 or you're like hooking up, then I feel like you simply must tell them. That's like the good thing. That's the right thing to do.
Right. Yeah, when in
Not-
a
to
world
not be a
where
cockroach.
good triumphs evil, you really
Exactly.
should be revealing if you're roaching or not.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm a roach. And that's also an awkward conversation to have. Like, I have to tell you something, I am a roach.
Oh my God. Can you
I'm roaching
imagine?
around.
I'm roaching around.
I'm a little roach.
Disgusting. Oh my God.
Gross.
On that note, thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out. It was lovely to
Yes,
chat.
lovely to
Sorry
chat.
to tell you about roaching, but
Yeah,
it do be like that.
Go out in the world and triumph evil this week. Okay, that's all we have. All right, we love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.